Welcome back to the Cult of Belial. I am joined once again by Anton. And before we hopped on the call, we were sort of discussing what we wanted to talk about. And we had some visitors. And we had to take a moment to sort of breathe for a second and listen for what we should talk about instead of like being all over the place. So what we're going to talk about is just like a little bit of our past experiences and things that we are currently working on, and we're just gonna let it flow. So, Anton, I'll let you start here. You want to talk about some of the work that you've done with Venus, and I'll talk about some empowerments that I've done after that.
Yeah, I would love to start with what I've done with Venus. So I had Venus come to me very quickly after my work with Mars. I assume because she's the wife of Mars, of course. But there was a few things that she wanted to show me and give me. Now, there was one night that I was connecting with Venus, and I felt a physical pain sort of in the heart chakra area. And I could see astrally that the heart chakra was bleeding. I didn't understand at the time. She simply said that this was a healing process that was going on and that all would be revealed soon. The next day, my heart chakra was very different. It was like a white light, but almost like a star with a pink core in the middle. What this actually was an empowerment ritual and a gift from Venus called the Star Jewel of Venus. She installs this sort of bright star into your heart chakra so that you can shine the light of Venus through you, which does many things. It increases attraction and magnetism, provides a passive glamour effect with the white light. People will be more friendly to you and be more drawn to you, which is great for matters of lust, love, business, and prosperity, which is all things that Venus sort of does. Now, with this as well, you can forcefully extend the light out or push it sort of into a spell as well. The pink core in the middle actually uses your energy to generate pink energy in the form of sort of a cloud or a stream. This can be used to sort of push out a mist around your aura that creates an extreme glamour effect and is almost intoxicating to those around you as well. You can use this in many ways, shapes and forms. You can push it into certain products, like what's the stuff? Spray, the stuff you put in yourself, aftershave, to sort of enchant it as well. You can push it into lust and love spells to fuel and magnify the actual spell itself. If you really want to go about connecting yourself with another, you can create an astral cord between you and the person and infuse it with this pink energy as well. This is a great gift from Venus and a ritual I received to be able to give this to others. I believe I also did it for you, Paolo, as well. And so you sort of felt it in the heart chakra area. It's a painful process at the start because she is installing it. It's a modification to your chakra system. It's going to sort of hurt at the start, and then once it's healed, you'll see the full benefits of the Star Jewel of Venus.
Hell yeah. Sorry, we're going to get my dog here. I'm currently visiting family right now. That's Chamo. Anyway, yeah, I remember I think I was in Michigan when you did the ritual for me. And you had told me that I was going to experience some pain. And whenever it comes to like empowerments, dude, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but I'm like, fucking bring it on, you know? And that's sort of, I haven't really played around with creating astral cords for my heart chakra since that empowerment, but that's something that I was taught to me by Asmodeus. So it it might be a good idea for me to start playing around with that in my head and then practice some more. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some empowerments I've done, but before I go into that, I'm going to talk about why we do empowerments in the first place. Now, whenever you do an empowerment, something internally changes in you, right? You gain gifts and abilities that you would either have to develop over time or you just wouldn't have in the first place. Now, I have done. Sorry, I keep hearing some fucking noise over here. I don't know what the hell it is. But some of the empowerments that I've done in the past, like I've done the bottomless pit embodiment ritual, which gave me access to Azazel's forge, his soul forge. It really increased my ability to project. Another empowerment that I've done was the Rite of Nine. I think I did that live in the group a while back. It involves 9 watchers. And immediately after doing that, I noticed that sort of everything became opened up because it wasn't just an empowerment. It was a transformation. It went down to the DNA level. And after doing that, like all the things I was already really talented at to begin with were enhanced. So for me, that's directing and moving energy, raising up energy far greater amounts of energy than I was able to before. It gave me access to all the watchers. And to an extent, my divinatory capabilities increased as well. Now, could I have done that over time? Probably with a lot of practice. But these things is like I'm going to compare it to taking like enhancements for competitions. You know, like so like if a bodybuilder were to take steroids, that's what these empowerments can be compared to. You know, and really, there's no cheating in magic as long as you get the work done. That's all that matters, right? But I'm gonna segue here into me working with the Angel of Death, Azrael. Now, I was listening to a song on the radio. The Need for a Curse came up, and I was listening to some deathcore song, and out of all the, screaming and grunts and gutturals that were in that song, the name that popped out and stuck in my mind was Azrael. And when that name kept playing back over and over and over in my head, I was like, I have to contact him. Now, what I have learned from Azrael was a lot of information about working with the dead and death currents. When I first evoked him, it was, that feeling when your heart sinks. It felt like that, but it was all over my body. And I might be like a darkness junkie because I was like, I want more of this. And for what he taught me how to do, he said I need to purify my body. So I had to go on a fast. It wasn't easy. And the ritual that he had me do, I thought it was going to be like, day 1, do the ritual and then have a break. And then next day ritual, have a break. Next day, finish ritual. But as soon as I began, it was like that energy stuck with me for the duration of the 3 days. And I was accumulating that energy, to funnel all the way into the workings. Now, what he told me about necromancy is, the dead don't have ears. They don't have eyes. They don't have bodies anymore. When we are doing necromancy, what we're basically doing is we're activating a spotlight, and we're calling forth energies of people who used to live to come forth to do work for us. A lot of the dead, they are either at rest or they are just roaming, right? And what he told me to do is, if you are going to work with the dead, you need to give them a purpose. And the proper way to go about doing this is give them a task that they are familiar with. So a task that they did in their waking moments, in their living moments. So if you need some protection, it would be a safe bet to try to be in contact with some dead police officers or some dead soldiers whose job it was to protect people. If you're looking for love work, if you find a couple buried together, you want to find them and evoke them and get them to sort of guide you or guide the person that you are trying to cause love to into doing that for you. And when you're giving purpose to these dead souls, it satisfies them, you know. Oh, hello, JMO. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's sort of what I have learned from working with Azrael. You know, it was very brief. I'm going to be doing work with him in the future just because of like how much I learned in that short period. It was like 4 or 5 days total, you know. So, Anton, if you want to speak, I'm going to try to deal with these dogs a little bit.
Yeah, it's very interesting because your work with Azrael, is that how you say it, Azrael, was very sort of synchronized with my work with Hecate, which is very recent, still ongoing. And the necromantic aspect of things. By the way, I loved how you put finding a grave of couples buried together and using them for love magic. It's something I haven't been told or thought of, so that's I actually love that a lot. But my experience with necromancy with Hecate was more ancestral based. She taught me how to utilize necromantic energies in a way that doesn't decay you while you work with it, but sort of makes you more youthful. This is where the skill of vampirism comes in. When you practice vampirism, you recycle energies, you transmute them. It's a very powerful skill to have. You sort of do the same thing with the necromantic energy. Take it from a sickly grey energy and turn it into a ghastly grey light. If you've ever seen Hecate, she emits this beautiful light that's grey and ghastly, that doesn't sort of emit death, but sort of emits a rebirth in life, which is the other side of the coin of necromancy as well. And that's sort of the same effect. It comes off your aura, and it's very attractive to have, and provides a more youthful look instead of decaying you while working with necromancy. And I've said this before in the videos. You don't want your workings to outlive you. You want to outlive your workings. So you want to remain sort of as energized as possible and healthy as possible while doing your workings. You don't want to get worn out, of course. Now, I had a couple ancestors brought to me during my necromantic initiation. One of them I had to help move on. I saw her in the lounge room. I walked past the lounge room. In the corner of my eye, I saw her. This is someone that I actually knew that passed away when I was a child. And she was old when she passed away. She was sitting on the couch, and she had no eyes, just like you said. Sort of just sitting there looking at me, Insidious style, full Insidious style. And it was creepy nonetheless. And as I went to look at her, she disappeared. This happened like 3 or 4 times over the course of a few weeks. And I was told to light a candle for her to help her move on. Me and her had unfinished business. I won't get into why, but we never got to speak before she passed away, and I was sort of part of it. She had to finish some business with me before she got to move on, and I helped her move on. which is part of death magic and necromancy. You will actually help spirits move on, help spirits go through their trauma that they have. Because spirits still carry trauma with them when they die. Say someone is a suicide victim, they'll roam around with regret, guilt, and the trauma that is behind all of it. And you can help them move on. It's part of the death current and death magic itself, which stems into necromancy. The other side of the ancestral stuff is I had another ancestor brought to me who practiced witchcraft and was a devotee to Hecate. This is sort of going to spin off into a lot of other stuff, but she showed me how to utilize the void in necromantic ways. The void, it goes through all magic, especially necromancy. There's a lot of dead spirits that don't roam the earth lost, but are lost within the void and have no purpose. Just like you said, you have to give these dead spirits purpose. It feeds them. It gives them life again. It's one of the best offerings you can give them. You can find these dead spirits in the void or connecting to the void or traveling to the actual void and pull them from it because they're lost. They won't mind. You're finding them. Just like you said, you're like a light that attracts them. You pull them from the void and you give them a task. Funny you said soldiers, because I did the same thing. I pulled 2 soldiers from World War II from the void for protection duties and other tasks as well. Now, what I wanted to spin off into, the beautiful thing about necromancy is the ancestral work. A lot of people who practice witchcraft, not everyone of course, but a lot of people will have had members in their family in the past bloodlines that have practiced witchcraft, and you can connect with them through ancestral work and necromancy and learn quite a bit from them. I solely went to Hecate to learn all of this, and she said, no, I'll bring you a couple of your ancestors who were once my devotees, and you shall learn from them instead of me. But of course I learned from both, but it's a beautiful thing to have because they're a part of your family. You don't need to constantly give them offerings. You don't need to make pacts and deals with them to receive things. They have your best interest in heart and wish to help you. Of course, not all ancestors do. Some may be angry, some can be toxic, but you will find the ones that have your best interest in heart. They are already watching over you from the other side of the veil. So that's sort of what I wanted to say about that.
Awesome, man. So I haven't actually done a whole lot of work with my ancestors, but what was advised to me is like, if you want to start connecting to your ancestors, if you want to start going down your bloodline, start with someone recent, like, so if you have a grandfather or a great grandfather who has passed on, you can connect to them. And then through that, once you start developing the methodology and you sort of create your own system on how to work with your ancestors, you can go as far back as you want to go. What's been on my mind recently, and I think I asked my dad this, I really wanted to know if we had any Templar lineage. And he was like, no, I don't think so, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's a question that I could probably find out by connecting firstly with my ancestors. One last thing, I forgot to mention this when I was working with Azrael, but by doing necromancy, by working with the dead, it can actually teach you a lot about life. Some people think that, it's going to be all doom and gloom working with dead spirits, but there is a lot of experiences in life that these people lived that we can learn from, which is just like a really cool thing. That's all I really have to talk about necromancy and ancestor work. But I'm trying to think of anything else that comes to mind. Anton, you got any ideas?
I could talk about the black moon, because we've talked about the black sun before and the black flame, but there are other things like the black moon, the black earth. I haven't heard of the black earth yet, only a little bit dabbled into its energies. But utilizing the black moon's energies for psychic empowerments is very strong. If you pull in the black moon's energies into your third eye, it isn't gonna hit you like the black sun would, but it's very subtle, very smooth. Um, but your vision, your hearing, your divination will increase greatly, I find. I did it probably a week ago, and my ability to actually see spirits has skyrocketed tremendously. And it also provides and balances out the feminine and the masculine energies within one. When you work with the sun, you're working with low masculine energies. So you want to work with both the sun and moon. Same goes for the black sun and the black moon. You want to sort of balance it out and have a nice balance of both, of course. And it allows one to sort of be more in touch with the darker side of their emotions as well. And it's great for charismatic encounters. Just like the sun would be for sort of prosperity magic. You're really in there, strongly seated in your masculinity, but with the black moon, you're a lot smoother, a lot more gentle, like water. You flow into the conversation and you flow into the situation, and it's less intimidating and more attracting, I find, as well. So that's something I just wanted to touch on a little bit.
It's awesome. I haven't really explored anything about the dark moon. In fact, it's probably one of the first times that I've heard about it. But what came to my mind immediately when you brought that up was like if there are any deities or spirits associated with the black moon. And this is complete guesswork. You can confirm this, but would Lilith be connected to the black moon? I know Hecate is associated with the moon. But are there any deities that you know of that somebody can work with in that sort of aspect?
As you said, Lilith, she would be a great example. I did it with Hecate, but both Lilith and Hecate can provide the entrance to these energies and help connect these energies, of course, as well.
Awesome. I might have to start exploring that because that made me. I don't know. I'm always wanting more. Like this path. It's a road, and there doesn't really seem to be any sort of finish line. Like the work is continuously ongoing, and the more that I learn personally, the more questions come. And the more I have to walk down that road further. And for each step that I take, I end up developing something new. And it excites me, like I have such a deep passion about learning all about this stuff, and I feel like if you are practicing witchcraft, demonolatry, any form of magic, even like stuff from the Golden Dawn or Thelema, things of that nature, even if you're in a lodge or something, you should have that passion, man, because like it's not going to be all sunshine and roses all the time, and you aren't going to get a quick fix anywhere, like a lot of the times that I've noticed is I have to work even harder to get the things that I have done magic on, and the things come. But it really, I don't know if there is an end to this, and it excites me. I don't know if you're like this, but Yeah, I'm just like speechless, when I start thinking about the different avenues just on this one thing, the black moon. It's I sort of get like all sorts of ideas in my head. I'm like, okay, how can I approach this? Obviously Hecate or Lilith would be the first ones to go to, try to connect with. But then it's like there's like this discovery process. Um, yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that. Anton, do you have any finishing up words that you'd like to say?
With what you said about the path and it never ending, the path of the black magician isn't what a lot of people think it is. People who are trying to get into it, of course. People who are already in this path will already know this. But a lot of people come to me, and I'm sure they come to you as well, seeking things easily, thinking black magic is going to make their life easier. But you will find it doesn't make life easier. It can actually make it harder. But through that, the results you will yield through the harder avenues will be tenfold more fruitful than if you were to go about it in the mundane way. Now, branching off of that, the path of the black magician is a rough road. With these transformations, trials, tribulations, comes a lot of chaos, comes a lot of mystery, a lot of things unfolding, right? That is sort of where the black magician thrives. The black magician, when things are easy, it's quite boring. It becomes mundane. When it is harder, that is when we are mostly motivated. It reminds me of something that a YouTuber once said, not an occultist YouTuber, but when he has done the best in his life, it's when things were the worst. Everything is fucked up, right? And that's when you sit down and go, I'm going to change everything and make everything better. And I've sort of always been like that myself. And I'm sure a lot of other black magicians have as well. When we are at rock bottom, that is when we are the most powerful, because we climb right back to the top. When we fall, we rise even stronger. That's sort of what I wanted to spin off just quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think anybody can tell just by watching these videos. I mean, before we started, I was hearing hissing over here. We had things knocking back over here. My TV shut off. His PS4 turned on or turned off. So, I mean, just by interacting with these spirits, you're going to have guests quite often. And if you're not used to it, it can sort of spook you. And even if we are attuned to these darker currents, it can affect the lives of everybody else around us. I have been noticing a lot of big shifts, not in my life, but in a lot of people around me's lives. A lot of pain is what I see. However, by being acclimated to these currents, a lot of people end up coming to me as sort of like a light in the darkness. And really a black magician embodies that, because we deal with that pain. We know it pretty well. We don't hide from it. A lot of times, in order to get through it, we have to embrace it. So I think it's a good place to finish off there. Thanks everybody for joining us again. And as always, rise and conquer.